All right, we're going to get started here in just a second. I definitely appreciate y'all for coming in. All right, we're going to get started. Just checking out, making sure the audio is working good. And so, yeah, let's get started, man. Welcome to 365 Ideas. We turn ideas into action. I want to welcome everybody in. We were scheduled to be on to come live next week, but we have some changes, some things we got to do. And the decision was made to go on and do this today. And so again, welcome to 365 Ideas Think Tank. We turn ideas into action. All right. And we're just going to tell you a little bit about us, tell you what we do, the inspiration and all of that. And then we're going to get out of here. All right. And I think you guys would definitely be interested in this. Let me see something real quick. Make sure everything is good. It's kind of some things is kind of weird going on here, but that's okay. So, what is 365 Ideas? Of course, as you see on the screen, we are a think tank. All right, we are a solutions think tank. We come up with solutions to different types of problems. All right. And we might put our solutions out. Sometimes we might come on live and reveal some solutions to problems that are going on in real world, real time. All right. We also will put out solutions in the form of books. We might put online courses. And so again, we are a solutions think tank. All right. And just in case you don't know what a think tank is, and just the basic definition, a think tank is basically an individual. It could be an individual or a group of people. It could be just 2 people, 3 people. It can be a combination of people and artificial intelligence, all right, that sit down, study real world problems, and come up with ideas and strategies to solve those problems, all right? Think tanks, the people in the think tanks research, they analyze, they break things down, all right, then create plans, solutions, and advice for, it could be for the public at large, it could be for businesses or governments, all right, or private individuals, okay? It can be that as well. So, yes, we are a think tank, and we are a Black American think tank, foundational Black American think tank, okay? There are other think tanks, there are other Black think tanks, and we're going to get into that as well because we want to show you some things in regards to these other Black think tanks and compare them to us, okay? And what we do. All right. So the inspiration, our inspiration is Dr. Claud Anderson. All right. Dr. Claud Anderson has a think tank called the Harvest Institute. I don't know if a lot of y'all know this or realize this. And we're going to get into it just a little bit and explain and show you some things about the Harvest Institute. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull that up. There we go. And just kind of show you some things about the Harvest Institute or Dr. Claud Anderson himself, okay? So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to show you first a summary of Powernomics. And the concept of Powernomics was created by Dr. Claud Anderson and is described in his book, Powernomics, the national plan to empower Black America. You can go to powernomics.com. And Powernomics, the Powernomics concept and plan teach Blacks how to pool their resources and aspects of power so that they can produce, distribute, and consume in a way that creates goods and wealth. Black Americans made extraordinary contributions to American society, and that's a fact. despite the astonishing, unusual, and unconscionable treatment they have endured in America. Also a fact. And, recently, New York had a recent mayor. He made some statements that were very historically gaslighting, to say the least, in regards to telling people that immigrants built New York and immigrants are going to lead New York and so on and so forth. But, we'll get back to that later. All right. So again, Black Americans made extraordinary contributions to American society despite the astonishing, unusual, and unconscionable treatment they have endured in America. Blacks were the engines that drove the political, economic development of this nation for centuries. They should, therefore, value their exceptionality, meaning Black Americans. They should value their exceptionality and let that sense of worth guide their group behavior. They should require that any business, political party, or political candidate who seeks or benefits from Black support always identify Blacks by name, commit, and in reciprocity, deliver tangible, measurable benefits to Black Americans. They should never allow themselves to be grouped with or equated to broad and ambiguous classes such as minorities, immigrants, people of color, diversity, poor people, or similar defining terms. The nation is indebted to Blacks, and equating them to fabricated classes adds insult to injury, hides their special history, and promotes the myth that all people have been created and treated equally, and that all groups have contributed equally to building of the nation, which is false. I go back to Zoran Mamdani made a very disparaging mistake in what he said. And I wouldn't even say mistake. I think he deliberately done this. And it's very false. And like I said, he was historically gaslighting a bunch of people, in particular immigrants. Okay. Again, the nation is indebted to Blacks, and equating them to fabricated classes adds insult to injury, hides their special history, and promotes the myth that all people have been created and treated equally, and that all groups have contributed equally to the building of the nation. Nothing is further from the truth. Okay. The purpose of Powernomics is to guide Native Blacks, and he used the word Native Blacks, and we are referring ourselves to, which it means the same. We understand what Dr. Claud Anderson was meaning. He said Native Blacks, we call ourselves foundational Black Americans. It brings things a little bit tighter. So again, the purpose of Powernomics is to guide Native Blacks from their position of powerlessness to one of group competitiveness and self-sufficiency. All right. So that is the summary of Powernomics of Dr. Claud Anderson. Okay. So let me just pull one more thing up here before we continue on in regards to Dr. Claud Anderson here. All right. Let's pull up this real quick. Okay. So let's pull this in. There we go. All right. So where are we at here? All right. So Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Claud Anderson is president of Powernomics Corporation of America, INC, and the Harvest Institute, INC. Okay. So the Harvest Institute, again, is Dr. Claud Anderson's think tank. All right. And I'm just going to read a little bit. I don't think I'm going to read everything on here. Let me see here real quick. Okay, we kind of broke down a little bit about Powernomics. So we'll read a paragraph or two. And Powernomics is a company that publishes his books and produces multimedia presentations in which he explains his concept. Powernomics is the package of principles and strategies he developed to explain the concept of race and to offer a guide for Black America to become a more economically and politically competitive group in America. And before I continue with this next paragraph, I say a lot of people seem to shy away from Dr. Claud Anderson. A lot of people shy away from him instead of getting with him and working with him. He's in his 80s or 90s now. So, and I think Dr. Claud Anderson is definitely for Black people. He's definitely for Black Americans. And there's so many videos out of him explaining that definite fact. All right. So let me go on a little bit more of Dr. Claud Anderson's book, Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America, incorporates and reflects his past experiences, his academic research, business experience, both as an owner and a capital provider, and his varied political positions. He has held, the highest positions in federal and state government and politics. He was state coordinator of education for Florida under Governor Reuben Askew during the tumultuous period of the 1970s. After successful social reform projects in Florida and leading President Jimmy Carter's Florida campaign to a win in the state, Carter appointed Anderson as the federal co-chairman for a commission of governors in the Southeast states. In that position, rank of Assistant Secretary in the United States Department of Commerce, he chaired the commission, funded and directed economic development projects for the governors in those states. The projects he funded created jobs and businesses in those states. As executive director of 2 economic development corporations for the city of Miami, Florida, he oversaw funding of more than 30 businesses. Although he has been a political independent for many years, he was a major planner and coordinator for the 1988 Democratic Convention in Atlanta and has taught at all levels of education. All right, so that's our brother, Dr. Claud Anderson. All right. That's our brother, Dr. Claud Anderson. And so that's our inspiration for starting 365 Ideas Think Tank, because as you soon will see here in a little bit, there always seems to be a problem when it comes to Black people being for Black people. For some reason, and it's becoming more and more evident that people feel or get intimidated when Black people say, Black Americans, foundational Black Americans say they're going to delineate and they're going to start looking out for each other as opposed to other groups, right? And for some reason, people get all offended and get upset and they think you're some type of militant and you're going to be against everybody and you're going to dog everybody out and do this and do that. But nobody ever addresses Jewish people being for their people first and foremost. Nobody ever addresses Indian people being for their own people first and foremost. Nobody addresses the Latinos being for their people first and foremost. And we see this a lot when it comes to jobs in different cities and states. They will look out for their people. And if there's other ethnicities working in the same jobs or the same buildings together with them, there's been reports where they will purposely get other ethnicities, in particular Black people, Black Americans, in trouble a lot to get them fired so they can try to get somebody else in. All right. These things are true. It's no fact. It's nothing about, nobody's trying to be, which we can't, Black people cannot be racist. A lot of people still, even some of our own Black Americans still claim that we can be racist. And until they understand the definitions of what racism is, they're going to continue kind of making it a little bad for everybody else, because Black people cannot be racist. Black people, Black Americans specifically, do not own and control all the world's resources to the point where we can affect people's lives, because as a group of us, as 45 to 55 million Black Americans, Foundation of Black Americans, all of us as a group do not own and control all of the world's resources to the point where we can displace and put people where we want, or we can move people out because we have all this wealth. See, that's what racism is. It's a race of different ethnic groups to own and control the resources, the world's resources, to the point that we can fix things and make things to where make people, other groups of people, uncomfortable. We can gentrify areas and only make it forward just Black Americans. We don't have them resources, but and you pay attention, who has those resources and can easily, and have been easily, moving people out in a systematic way. Okay. So that's enough of that. We'll go back on into more of what we're about. Okay. So again, what we are about, let me just see here. My bad. So what we are about, again, we come up with solutions. What we do is we study real world problems. All right. We gather and study information. We study real world problems, and then we generate ideas and strategies to solve these problems. And our focus is on foundational Black Americans. Okay. And what I'm going to show you here in a little bit, there are other, like I said earlier, there are other Black think tanks, and you're going to find out who they actually focus on. And when you sit down and think about it to some degree, you're going to see that it can be very, not really depressing, but it's a shame. Okay. So again, what do? We track and we monitor situations, and then we will report from time to time. And one of the things we are monitoring now and tracking a little bit, there's been reports that certain social media platforms, if any of you guys actually know, it's a bunch of things we are tracking, but here's one of them. When you go on social media, some of you might start realizing that if you're going to text a post, you might type in some words. And let's say you're on Twitter and you type some words in, and you look at what you're typing and everything looks like it's typed correctly. And then once you hit enter or submit, so your post can go live for everybody to see. Once it's live, you'll find out that what you type all of a sudden has got messed up, misspelled words and things like that. And we're monitoring that. It appears to be a lot of Black Americans appear to be reporting this. We don't have other ethnic groups saying they having those type of issues. And we also know that there's always a propaganda component, if you will. And there are other think tanks out there who specifically work with, like we said, we work in, we deal with foundational Black American challenges, struggles, problems, on top of some other things we'll explain here in a little bit. And these other think tank groups sometimes might work with social media companies, and they come up with strategies as well and the ideas that say, well, hey, we can, start making them look bad. We can mess with the algorithms, and every time they type something in and they put enter, the words will come out misspelled. So then there'll be an impression that'll go across, millions of people use social media. So there will be a thing to where people will start saying, man, these Black Americans don't even know how to spell and they're dumb. And then that'll kind of get spread. But that'll all be because a think tank got together and thought of these ideas and thought of these strategies to do. Always trying to affect in a negative way certain ethnic groups. Okay. So that's just an example. That's one of the things we're monitoring. Although we're monitoring a whole lot of other things, and maybe sometime down the road, again, because we do track, monitor, we'll report some of those things down the road. Okay. Again, like I said, we gather information and we study that information. We study real world problems. For example, we can look at the homeless situation and find out different ways to house homeless. And incidentally, we do have, I don't know if we have it on the website, but we do have some solutions for that. Because like I said, not only do we deal with foundational Black Americans and protecting them, or us, I should say, I am part of foundational Black Americans and protecting us when it comes to certain problems that we are facing. We're looking at that, but we also look at other social issues as well, social problems. So we might come up with, again, PDF guides. We might come out with books that have solutions to problems that we're dealing with, or there's social problems that's going on. We'll put out information there. Also, we'll put out articles on our website and that have solutions. And, we already have some articles out now and across different various topics. Okay. So some people are thinking that they want to have more engagement on social media. So we have some solutions for that. Some people have issues with their dogs jumping on family members or guests that come in. We have some solutions we put out for that. So that's what I said. When we're a solutions think tank, we also look at other problems as well. And our focus is on foundational Black Americans, but we also focus on social problems as well. Okay. So, and we also might come up with inventions down the road as well. So we're kind of a hybrid solutions think tank and action tank as well. Because like I said, somewhere down the road, we might come out with some inventions to things that'll solve problems. Okay. So again, we study real world problems. We also generate ideas and strategies to solve those problems. We also will expose injustices as well when they arise, and we also strategize. Okay, just to name a few. And what we do, the resources we use is Ascent, SOCMint, AI, which a lot of y'all are familiar with AI, Human, iMint, and others. Okay, so let's break that down and just give you some examples and show you, for those who don't know what these words mean. All right. So let's take a look at that. So Ascent is short for open source intelligence or open source information. All right. These are the resources that we use to gather information and find out what's going on. And we just gave you a short list, but it's a long, way long list under each one that we take a look at. And this is another thing we kind of feel like we differ from all other think tanks, because we think that they go from, even we're studying and looking at other think tanks. We're studying CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Brookings Institute, and plenty others. We are also studying and looking at Asian think tanks. There are some Jamaican think tanks. There's some think tanks out of Africa, Jewish think tanks out of Israel and the United States. So we're watching them too, and we're studying them as well. All right. And we, like I said, they're focusing on their people's group, all of these think tanks. But you're going to find something, like I said, it's going to be very interesting when it comes to Black think tanks in America. You're going to see something very interesting. And maybe for some it's not. Maybe for some it's like, yeah, it is obvious, because that seems to be the pattern anyway. But you'll see here in a second. So again, we use open source intelligence, meaning it's public information that anyone can legally access to understand events, systems, and trends. Now, with open source intelligence, if you can find the information, because a lot of times there's information out there and people don't know where to look to find it. See, that's another thing we're very good at, whether it's an article form and other things. We know how to find. We got resources and we got expertise to find a lot of information that people don't find too easily. All right. We have a whole bunch of sources of websites, which is also part of open intelligence, that we can find loads of information on different subjects. So that's open source intelligence. Okay. SOCMINT, which means social media intelligence, information from social platforms, public sentiments, behaviors, conversations, cultural shifts. And the examples are TikTok, just for an example, TikTok, search and lives, Twitters, Reddit, so on and so forth, Discords. And let me just go back real quick to give you sources on open source intelligence or open source information. And for example, you got Google, you got Reuters, CDC, SEC, government reports, all these things that are open, publicly available. And some, like I said, there are some sites and information that is out there, but it's kind of purposely being hidden in certain subtle ways. And so you might not be able to find it. And we're really good at finding information. All right. So again, we got social media intelligence. I just explained that. And here's your sources, some sources of that, but it's a way longer list than that. And speaking of source, talking about social media intelligence, information, sometimes we'll go, like we mentioned here in the sources here, TikTok searches, lives, Twitter spaces, lives. We go to YouTube and watch people live or watch recorded videos, depending on what we studying and researching information. And a lot of times this is more human involved. There's humans that are on live and posting, although when it comes to posts and things like that. And then of course, with the AI that you have now, people are creating artificial intelligent videos. So we got a way of looking at those too, and extracting what's needs to be extracted and getting rid of the nonsense that needs to be getting rid of. Okay. So we have human intelligence, and that's, of course, talking directly with people and having conversations, whether you're talking to them face to face, on the phone, you can go back to human intelligence by going on live streams and talking to people. You're talking to other humans that way, that back to the social media intelligence. So they kind of can go hand to hand at times. Real world observations, just studying real situations, being out and about and just looking at things, looking at people, looking at situations going on. All right. So some sources of that, people go to the barbershop, people go to the gym, people go to the church. You're talking to real humans at these places. All right. Talking to people on the street, having street conversations. You go to town hall meetings, community sessions. All right. Again, like I mentioned, live streams. You can go to YouTube Live and have a panel on YouTube Live or TikTok or Twitter Spaces. What's the other one? Clubhouse, and so on and so forth. All these different, I think Stereo is available. That's another social media platform that's audio based. And I don't know if there's been some changes. Me, myself, I used to be on Stereo from time to time. All right. So those are just some examples of actual human intelligence, gathering their thoughts about things, picking their brains about things, and so on and so forth. Okay. So then we have imagery intelligence, which is called IMINT. All right. Imagery intelligence, meaning visual based intelligence. Could be pictures, photos, videos, maps, satellite imagery. All right. And some sources of those is Google Maps, Google Earth, Street View, YouTube, TikTok video analysis, satellite imagery dashboards, Sentinel hubs, things like that. So we can gather information from that intelligence source. All right. Then you have GEOINT or GEOINT, which is geospatial intelligence. Okay. Meaning location-based patterns, movement, terrain, clusters, spatial data. All right. Sources of those can be healthmap.org, which partners we work with is Pandemic News Report. They normally use health. One of the sources they use to figure out and get information about in real time, a lot of times, about health diseases, tracking diseases, is healthmap.org. All right. You have Google Earth again, where you can get geospatial information. And based on whatever we are trying to gather information for and study and see what the problems are and coming up with some ideas and strategies to handle those problems. You also have FEMA maps for emergencies. All right. These are just examples. Then you have financial intelligence, which it can be finant, all right, or finant, meaning following money flows, government budgets, corporate money trails, markets, etc. And some sources are sec.gov, all right, the SEC filings, the usaspending.gov, Yahoo Finance, Crunchbase Free. Those are just some examples of sources that if you wanted to figure out some problems going on in the financial area and how it will affect Black Americans, Foundation of Black Americans, we can look up these sites and just, study some things that's going on there and say, oh, this could be a problem. That can be a problem, or this is a problem, and sit down and come up with our ideas and our strategies to deal with those problems. Then, of course, you got CybInt or DIGINT, digital intelligence or cyber intelligence, meaning digital footprint intel, cybersecurity trends, online threats, digital behaviors, and some sources here. And you guys can feel free to go to these websites that we're showing you, because these are just a few places that we go, but the list is a lot longer than this. We just wanted to give you some examples of it. All right. So you have CISA or CISA that we call it .gov. All right. Then KrebsOnSecurity.com, Shodan. All right. And those are some examples of cyber intelligence that we can gather. Okay. Then you have technology intelligence, TechInt, which is tracking emergent tech tools, patents, AI systems, digital infrastructures, and some sources of those. Google patents, we can look up United States Patent Trademark Office database, MIT Technology Review. You have Wired, you have Ars Technica, just for some examples. If you want to start looking in that area and find out, what's tech going to be like and how is it going to affect foundational Black Americans in the future? Let's check out some Google patents, or let's go to MIT's Technology Review and see what's going on there. Let's go to Wired and find out what's going there and take a look. Or some things that can be as a benefit. Everything doesn't have to be necessarily a negative to foundational Black Americans. It could be things out there that can be a benefit. And remember, I did say that let's go back here real quick, that we do track, we monitor things, and we report. So we can report these things as well and say, hey, look, this is what's going on in the tech section, and this, can be a benefit to you. All right. And then, of course, we have POLINT or POLINT, with political intelligence, okay, which means tracking political moves, policy changes, power shifts, geopolitics. All right. And a great source out of, not only these here, is also a partner we work with, the Presidential News Brief. All right. The Presidential News Brief is also a source to get geopolitical information. All right. So y'all check that out on YouTube, the Presidential News Brief. But on here, we have sources of congress.gov. We can look up that, find out what's going on, whether it's good for Black Americans or bad for foundational Black Americans. We don't deal with immigrant bases and stuff like that, because there are other think tanks that are immigrant think tanks from other countries. And so they're looking out for their own people. And like I said before, it's a shame that only when Black Americans say they want to start looking out for their own, everybody gets offended. I don't understand that, but nobody checks anybody else. Nobody says anything to the Jewish people for looking out for their own. It's only Black Americans. Everybody's in an uproar and gets upset. And they think that because you're doing that, something's wrong with you. You got a problem, and you might be, people try to stay away and shun you. Sometimes your own people. That's weird to me because nobody ever says anything to these other ethnic groups. But the other sources here for political intelligence, just to name a few, is C-SPAN. I used to watch C-SPAN a lot, and you can learn a lot in studying things. So yeah, 365 Ideas takes a look at C-SPAN, Congress.gov for intel, the UN and global policy briefings. You look into that as well, get information from that. All right. Then, of course, you have artificial intelligence. A lot of y'all are familiar with AI. All right. Using AI tools to collect, analyze, cross-reference, summarize, and detect patterns and information. This is the future forward lane, the AI assistant brain power layer on top of all other intelligences, if you will. And some sources of AI, artificial intelligence. Y'all know about this one, Chat GPT, GPT-5, all right? Deep breakdowns, synthesis, pattern recognition. You have Perplexity AI, real-time AI search and source linking. And there's a whole host of others. You also have, what is that, DeepSeek, I think it is. I think that's the Asians' AI, and people might shy away from it because it's Asian. But we also take a look. We also use DeepSeek as well. And that's just a short list of what we take a look in the sources we use to help us out, come up with solving problems, finding out what the problems are, is these different AI systems, ChatGPT, Perplexity, DeepSeek, and others, okay? And Notebook LM. A lot of people are not up on Notebook LM, and that's actually free. You can use it every day. So much, I forget how it goes, like so much time or so much sources, and you only get a limited amount a day, but you can use it pretty much every day. You just gotta you can only use it for so many times out of a day, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we've used Notebook LM to do research as well. Very good source, Notebook LM, one of the quiet sources that people don't really talk about. All right. And so, yeah, we're going to get into this next one here in a little bit. But those are some of the sources we use, okay? And again, we are a combination of human and artificial intelligence to do our studies, studying real world problems and coming up with real world strategies and ideas and strategies. So that's a little bit of what we do, man. All right. And so we'll get into this next one here real quick. And we are not, all right, or let's say, how should we put this one? We are, we're not a registered think tank because a lot of think tanks are registered. All right. And I will say this, you do not need to be registered to start a think tank. All right. All you need is one person or more to start a think tank. All right. And we'll get into that just a little bit later on, real brief. But don't let anybody slow you down from starting a think tank. If people don't want to get with you, then you can be a one-person think tank until you find people who are interested in helping you out. And you can use AI to do all your stuff. Okay. So don't be discouraged about that. Okay. So we don't have any, it says what we are not, but it should be more that saying something along the lines that we don't, we're not controlled. It's probably a better way to put it. We're not controlled by any corporations. All right. We're not controlled by government, I should say corporation money, government money, private organizations money, or individuals that have millions of dollars. Now, a lot of these think tanks are financed by corporations, government, if not all of them, or a great majority of them are funded by corporations, governments, because some of these think tanks do their work exclusively for governments. They come up with strategies and ideas exclusively just for governments, which we have no problem with that. Nothing wrong with that. There are some think tanks that are funded by strictly just corporations. And I mentioned earlier how you have, social media platforms might have some think tanks as well that might strategize to do some little foul stuff regarding people's posts. There was issues about YouTube for quite a long time about removing people's posts and things like that. So there are think tanks that deal with just exclusive um, corporations, governments, private organizations, individuals, and some of those think tanks do that. We are not that, and we are not going to be controlled by any corporations. We don't take corporation money, government money, private organization money, individual money. If we do, we always make it very clear that this is not money that you're going to pay us off to keep things quiet. If you want us to do certain type of work, we'll do it, but this is not, you're not going to quiet us. And if that's what the mentality is, then we'll either return your money back, or we'll just tell you, we're trying to find out what's your real agenda from the beginning. And if it's really just to control information or keep people from knowing things, it's not going to happen. So we are not doing that. This think tank is not doing that. Okay. We are exclusively for the people in general, but specifically foundational Black Americans. And we're going to get into something real shortly here in regards to these Black think tanks, because what I was saying earlier and explaining earlier. Okay. And so that's pretty much that on this one. Okay. So now we're going to get into the Black think tanks, because I want to show y'all guys some stuff here. All right. We're going to get into some Black think tanks. Now, as far as we know, there might be others, but you see a list on here. You're watching it, you're looking at it on the screen right now. There are a lot of Black think tanks. And like I said earlier, there are Asian think tanks. There are Jamaican think tanks. There are, what else? There are Latino think tanks, since there's a big thing about Latinos and foundational Black Americans and Jamaicans. I think there are some Haitian think tanks. And probably for every country, there's a think tank. Some are not as strong as others, and maybe not as heavily financed. And there are some think tanks that just deal with certain issues. They might deal with financial stuff, but not social stuff. Okay. So we like to say or think that we are a think tank that looks at everything more holistic, 360. And like I said, we also deal with social issues, dealing with homeless issues, things like that. But we also look at anything that's affecting foundational Black Americans negatively. We look at the situations. We study, like I gave y'all loads of examples on the sources that we use to gather intelligence, and we see what's going on in foundational Black American communities and what the struggles are. And then we try to come up with solutions for these problems and issues, because like I said earlier, everybody seems to get so upset only when it's Black Americans saying they're going to look out for each other. People get so offended and so upset, and they think that like you are some type of disease because you're standing up for your own people. But nobody ever talks about how Jewish people stand up, and their think tanks are only for them. You got some Jewish think tanks. We could go into some Jewish think tanks, but I wanted to show you a lot of these Black think tanks because I want to show you something about them in particular that we are definitely not about, that they are about. And I'm going to show you some of those in there in a minute. But people get so upset about just because you're for a certain group of people, like something wrong with you, or like you ain't supposed to stand up for your own. You're supposed to do everything for us, and you're supposed to stand up for our issues, and you're supposed to fight for what's going on with us. And that's all they want. But there's a distinct reason behind that I'm not going to even address today, but there's reasons for that. That's the reason behind that. But let's take a look at these Black think tanks. First, let's show you them, because some of you might want to check these out, because some of them have YouTube channels, and we're going to take a look at some here in a bit. All right. So you have, which I think they're pretty heavy. A few of them are pretty stay pretty active. So you have the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. They are a think tank. We're going to get into what they are about and what they are, at least some of them. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them, but I'm going to show you the ones that we have. Let me see some. Yeah, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like there's 8 that we know of right now. There might be many more, at least that we researched so far. So you have the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. That's a Black think tank, y'all. You have the Brookings Institution Center for Technology Innovation. This one is very interesting when we researched them and took a look at some of their YouTube videos and their website. I think this lady here, Dr. Nicole Turner Lee, if that's who she is on some of these videos, the impression we got about this particular think tank is that there might be individuals that are in the think tank that are kind of seen, they give the impression that they're really for Black people and not for other groups. But I think their overall mission might be, as we'll see in research here real quick, that they're for a little bit more than just for Black people. And that's one of things that's a problem, to be honest with you. So there's also the African American Policy Forum. That's a think tank. You have the Economic Policy Institute. They are a think tank. They are Black. All of these are Black think tanks, by the way. You have the Black Youth Project. We've been checking them out a little bit as well on YouTube. Just a little bit. You have the Thurgood Marshall Institute, TMI. That's a Black think tank. Again, all of these that I'm mentioning right now and showing on the screen are Black think tanks. You have the Dubois Forum. They don't have a YouTube channel, apparently. They might. I have to look that up and see if one pops up. Then you have the Institute for the Black World 21st Century, IBW, is a Black think tank. All right. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of these. Okay. Let's first see if we can find the Dubois forum, see if they got a YouTube channel. DuboisForum.org. We'll go to the website here in a sec. As a matter of fact, let's do that now. Let's see. And then we'll try to see if they have a YouTube channel. Is it .org or .com? Let me take a look again. .org. They look like they might not have a website. Like I said, some of these are not as super active, or they might have been deactivated. So we're looking up the website right now, and there appears to be none. So let's see if they have a YouTube channel. All right. That's the Dubois. Wait a minute. I might have typed it in wrong. Let me see something. They might have a website. Stand by a second. Maybe that was on me. Let's recheck that real quick. Let me make sure I typed this thing in correctly. I could be mistaken. Let me see. Yeah. Oh no. Well, it still says no. It says error. The website encountered an unexpected error. Du Bois Forum. Yeah, I put DuBoisForum.org. Let me put in. Yeah, doesn't look like there's a website for them. All right, so let's look up and see if they have a YouTube channel. Which I don't think they do. If they don't have the website, they're probably, well, this says, but no, they don't have a channel. W.E.B. Du Bois Forum in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. There are videos about them, but they don't have a specific channel. So we're not going to fool with them. So let's move on. Let's go to the first one. I think they're pretty active. The Joint Center for Political Economic Studies. Let's see if we can find them real quick here. Alrighty. Yeah, let's see. I think we already have them on the list. If we can find them here, where are you guys at? Might just have to type it in, but I know we have them on the YouTube channel list. Let me see here. What's this right here? Let's look at the list real quick. Let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we'll just have to type it in. Let's put this back up so we get a better view. And that's that is the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. Political and Economic Studies. They might have changed it to Economic Development, but that's cool. And here we are. All righty. So let's pull that on the screen real quick. Let's get them out the way. Yes, sir. There we go. All right. So let me make sure you guys got it on the screen. There we go. So this is a Black think tank. They have a YouTube channel. There's their website. We'll click on that for a moment, but let's just scroll down and just take a look at some titles of their videos. Now, if we were to do like I said, we study and we look at everybody and everything from individuals to groups. You know, sometimes it's just we're just kind of surfing sometimes and just seeing what's going on. And this would be an example of, just kind of searching around or surfing around. You got the Joint Center 2022 Future of Black Committees Summit. They have different, what do you call that? Playlist. All right. The Joint Center 50th anniversary, 2 years. This video is 2 years ago under the playlist of Joint 50th anniversary. You have the Joint Center 50th anniversary day. That was 4 years ago. They have another playlist on their YouTube channel, the Joint Center yearly highlights 2 years ago. So we also, we look, like I said, we look at things and we seeing how active they are. There's a 1 year video. All right. With the shorts, it's hard to tell unless you click on some details on the shorts to see, what date and times they were posting these things. How we can rise to the moment in expanding. And incidentally, while the thought is on my mind, I also want to let you guys know that we are not like the suit and tie type think tank. You got the button down people. They have to be so tight and stiff. We're not that type of think tank. We're very how would I say, very expressive, if you will, very open about things, very open about speaking up about things. And sometimes you might not like the way things are being spoken up upon. And you'll see, let's play some videos, man. And just to see, to let you know what I'm talking about when I say that. All right. And no disrespect to them at all. It's just that we just don't move the way other think tanks move. Like I said, we're not controlled by any corporations and things like that. All right. So we can move a different way. I guess that's probably a better way to say it. Let's take a look at this video here. Just for it.
Thank you for Kayla for kind of teeing up the discussion. I will be talking about the report that we will be developing, and it will be forthcoming soon. 5 Principles for Equitable Non-Degree Pathways. This brief shares insights from the advisory board, overviews principles to center equity in non-degree credential programs and pathways, and underscores how these principles can help non-degree credentials translate into sustained economic mobility for Black workers. This brief is also part of our new series, Centering Black Workers in Emerging Industries, which examines how Black communities can access equitably thriving and high growth industries, including manufacturing, technology, and clean energy.
My apologies. I had my audio off there. I was just busy talking away. So we'll come to this website, and I went to the About page. And went to the About page, and let me just read this. I was busy talking away. I'm sure I know you guys didn't hear me. So let's kind of go over it again. The Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies is a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C., that creates ideas to improve the socioeconomic status and civic engagement of African Americans. And like I was saying earlier, where the mic was turned off, now I said that I'm sure they don't mean Africans that are in America. This gives you the impression that they're talking about Black Americans, or we also refer to as foundational Black Americans. We're often referred to as Negro. So all these words are linked to African Americans. Okay. And what I was also saying earlier that my mic was off was that a lot of problems I noticed, or some things I noticed by looking at these Black think tanks, a lot of them seem to give you the impression of being for Black Americans, like exclusively, but then in the wordings, you'll start noticing they kind of shift a little bit. And then when you kind of pay attention, they're for other people too. Now we're going to see if this is the case with the Joint Center. So they're founded in 1970 and to support, and like I was saying earlier also, that we also look at all of these and have been looking at a lot of their websites. So in 1970, they were founded to support newly elected Black officials who were moving from civil rights activism into governance. The Joint Center quickly evolved into America's Black think tank. Okay, there you go. So far, it became the policy hub of government officials and public intellectuals concerned about the future of African American communities, such as Maynard Jackson, Shirley Chisholm, John Hope Franklin, Mary Frances Berry, and William Julius Wilson. Currently, the Joint Center is focused on developing solutions to diversify congressional staff and to equip workers with skills to succeed in the evolving economy. Okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. The Joint Center emphasizes high quality data and analysis. Our policy solutions result from input from community members, advocates, business and labor leaders, government officials, and academics. We tailor our solutions to be relevant and accessible to communities to maximize impact. We also prioritize communication and relationships across racial lines to strengthen the nation's pluralistic society. I'm going to read that line again because that's where it starts to get a little bit on the shaky side. We also prioritize communication and relationships. All right. So that sounds to me that they'll communicate and have relationships across racial lines. Saying across race, which is nothing wrong with that, as long as I'll give an example. So what it sounds to me, they'll get with and communicate and have relationships with Asian community, just for an example. When it says across racial lines, so across the line of being Black, they'll cross that line and go into an Asian, hook up with Asians. Just for an example. I'm not saying that's what they're saying they're doing. To strengthen nations' pluralistic society. Now, those words is a little bit funny style, because it lends to that you're not going to be exclusively for Black Americans like you kind of had it worded early on. It kind of throws things off a little bit. Okay, so to read on, to connect ideas and political action, which, there might be some Asians who might want to help Black Americans. Okay, there might be, but you got to keep an eye on everybody, because history has shown, even recent history in 2025, 2024, 2015, has shown otherwise. All right. So you got to keep an eye on who you associate with. All right. Again, so to connect ideas and political action, the Joint Center relies on key partners. The Joint Center has close ties to the Congressional Black Caucus. And this is what I was talking about. One of the things, anyways, the Congressional Black Caucus hasn't really been speaking up for Black people. They'll give you the impression that they have, and they might spit out some things. Oh, we did this and did that. But then when you ask the people, when I go back to what I said we do, the sources that we use, let's go back to that real quick, because I want to make it super clear. Okay, on your right side of this, we use, and these are just some few examples. We use open source intelligence, we use social media intelligence, AI intelligence, we use human intelligence, we use imagery intelligence when it's necessary to use that, and more, geopolitical intelligence, financial intelligence, and so for all these sources we look at. And what did they say again? The Joint Center has close ties to the Congressional Black Caucus, the National Organization of Black County Officials, and the African American Mayors Association. The Joint Center also works closely with many civil rights and economic development organizations, social innovation and technology organizations, millennial activists, community organizations, congressional staff associations, the National Association for Latino elected and appointed officials, and several think tanks. There it is. Okay. Why would you? I mean, it's cool. I can't really shun you for saying you'll work with them. And that might not be a bad thing per se. But real-time history and proof shows that there's been a lot of shady stuff going on with these other ethnic groups towards Black Americans. So in one instance, I'm not going to 100% dog out the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies because they're working with all these people. But these people, and specifically, I'm talking about the Congressional Black Caucus, and then you have this National Association for Latino elected and appointed officials. They have their own agendas, and they can work with you and still find a way to get their people in first. And I think these Black think tanks, such as this one that we're looking at, doesn't either understand that, or they see it and they just think that they can just change their hearts and minds. It's just something wrong, man. Just something that's just not right. And like I told you, there are Latino think tanks already, and they're going to be for Latino people. Maybe we'll do another one like this and do several of them, and we'll just kind of break it down in different ethnic groups and show you their think tanks, some of their YouTube channels, if they have any, just and read some of their missions and all that, so people can see, because that's what we're also about here. We'll expose things, we'll report stuff. So yeah, we might do that, might do just that. That's a good idea. Let me write that down. That's a very good idea to do, just so people can see. All right. Let me see. Latino think tanks. All right. So we might do that on another live. All right. So let's try to do two more. Let's try to do two more anyway. Let's take another list here. Where were we? Let's go here. Let's see another one. All right. Let's see. Should I go in order? Let's go. Okay, we did the first one. Let's do this one. Let's take out the Black Youth Project. We've been looking at them a little bit too. So they have a YouTube channel, the Black Youth Project. Let's check them out. Let's check this think tank out right here. There they go. Let's get y'all on the screen. I believe this is them. I think this is them. Let me make sure. Let me make sure we'll know for sure about the website. blackyouthproject.com. And yes, this is them. This is their YouTube channel. Let's pull them up real quick. Let's pull up the Black Youth Project. This is another black think tank. I bet y'all didn't even know there was some black think tanks out there. All right, so there you go. That's on the screen. Oh, no, not yet. Let's pull it up. There we go. That's the Black Youth Think Tank. They are Black Youth Project. They are a think tank as well. Let's read their description on the YouTube channel, and we'll go on to their website a little bit. We might take a quick look at a video or two. So the Black Youth Project will examine the attitudes. Stand by a second here. There we go. The Black Youth Project will examine the attitudes, resources. They'll examine or study the attitudes, resources, and culture of the young urban black millennials. So their focus, it seems to be, is on the young urban black millennial, exploring how these factors and other. Now, they didn't say Black American, but we're going to look down the line here. I already see some words already. Exploring how these factors and others influence their decision-making, norms, and behavior in critical domains such as sex, health, and politics. Arguably, more than any other subgroup of Americans, African-American youth reflect the challenges of inclusion and empowerment in the post-civil rights period. At the core of this project will be an exploration of what young Black Americans think about the political, cultural, and sexual choices. Well, they're in a think tank that looks after sexual. It's very interesting. And there's nothing that there's no rules about what a think tank wants to focus on and things like that. I just find it interesting that on top of political and cultural, also sexual choices and challenges confronting them in their peer group. We are especially interested in understanding what new factors help to shape or contribute to the social and political attitudes and behaviors of African American youth. And we will get to the website in just a sec. I just want to look at From Black Brazil to Black America. We might take a look at that for a second. Again, let's just scroll. Okay, this is all the different tabs or playlists they have. The popular ones, you got About Black Youth Project. We'll click on that here in a minute as the first video, and then maybe we'll take a look at this other one. Let me see what the other one is. Black Youth Project presents Not My 10-Point Program. All right, we'll just look at a couple right quick, okay? Just see what they're about real quick.
I am 6,935 days old. I am 19.
The Black Youth Project is really cool because it's a space where people from various communities can come together and get information.
Finally, there's a place on the web where young Black people can speak for themselves.
My words, no.
It's the bridging of the gap between academic tools, and so youth can learn about the data sets that are out there about us.
You can get information from the rap lyrics database.
You can find a whole number of videos as well as articles and blogs that talk about hip-hop in a way that respects young Black people.
It is a place where the perspectives of young Black people will be heard loud and clear.
Too often we hear of the extremes, either those that have made it or really the millions of young people who are incarcerated, who find themselves in failing schools.
I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, there seems to be some type of issue with the, I don't know, the internet. I don't know if it's their video or internet connection, but if it comes on, we'll let it play, or we can go to another video and maybe come back. So, I mean, it looks like, they're saying Black youth, so we don't know if that means specifically Black American youth or just anybody who calls themselves Black and don't want to refer to themselves as their ethnic group or their racial group. Like instead of saying Black, saying you're Jamaican American or Haitian American. So maybe they consider them as Black youth as well, the different ethnicities. All right. So that seems, there's a Black think tank out there for the youth. All right. And they have their little focuses. This one is, let me see. Wow. So this video that we just watched was 16 years ago. And I don't see any current. Before I play this other video, let's see if they have anything current. Their latest one is 5 years ago. So they might not be as active. Let me see if they got anything live. The live one, it was even 8 years ago. So yeah, we'll click on this website in a second. They might have the website and everything, but they might not even be as active. Or they're active and they're just not reporting much on their YouTube channel. That could be the case as well. Or they could be very busy dealing with issues and focusing on different things with the youth that they haven't utilized their YouTube channel as much. And like I said, that's another thing that we're different on. We're using all types of resources. We do have our site. It also includes articles. And mostly our articles are solutions to problems. It can be everyday problems. It can be problems about social media, which we mentioned earlier. Problems with dogs. Like I mentioned, we have an article about dealing with your dog trying to jump on family members, guests. We have an article that has solutions for that. We also have articles that solve problems for foundational Black Americans. All right, whether they're youth or they're adults, as long as they're foundational Black American, we focus on solutions for that particular lineage. All right. So let's go onto the website real quick. We've been on there quite a long time. We're going to hurry up and get out of here. And here's their website. Let's see. I don't think it's on here. Let me get that pulled up really fast. I believe this is it right here. And let's pull up their website for you guys to take a look at really fast. There you go. We don't know how active they have been. And let's see if we can find an about section really fast to see what else they say they're about. American citizen sues ICE. Well, they seem like they're active. They might be active on their website more than they are on their YouTube channel, because they're mentioning ICE here. American citizen sues ICE following 3-week attempt to deport him to Jamaica. Okay, so they might be more active on their website than they are on their YouTube channel. Okay. They might have felt like it was more beneficial to be active on the site. Now here's about us. Let's take a look. Let's take a look real quick, and we'll do one more and then we'll probably close out. All right. So the Black Youth Project will examine the attitudes, resources, and culture of the young urban Black millennial. It seems like it's reading the same as the YouTube channel, exploring how these factors and others influence their decision-making, norms, and behavior in critical domains such as sex, health, and politics. Arguably more than any other subgroup of Americans, African American youth reflect the challenges of inclusion and empowerment in the post-civil rights period. At the core of this project will be an exploration of what young Black Americans think about the political, cultural, and sexual choices and challenges confronting them in their peer group. We are especially interested in understanding what new factors help to shape or contribute to the social and political attitudes and behaviors of African American youth. So it seems to read the same as the YouTube page description. and they might be more active on the website. All right. So let's get out of that one, and we'll do one more, and then we'll get out of here. So let's close that out. Okay, and where are we at here? Let's close them out. Let's try another one. Let's see who else we got here. One more. Let's make it good. You got Thurgood Marshall. We won't go to them. That's the NAACP. Also, no. I guess they might be using the same website, because there is another black think tank that we don't have on this list that you're watching, and I think that is the Legal Defense League. But I see the YouTube channel is under the Thurgood Marshall's Institute. That's another think tank. But the NAACP have their own think tank, or maybe it's one of the same, but it's called the LDF. It's called the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and that might be a separate think tank. I think when we took a look at that, that was a separate think tank. But we won't look at that one. But I'm just looking at that right now, and I noticed that. You got the Institute for Black World 21st Century. I don't know if they're active. We haven't even took a look at them. We haven't even seen their YouTube channel or website. So we're going to just get to this next one that I think I know we got. They definitely have. The Brookings Institution. We'll look at them and make that the last one. And maybe we'll do another one on some more black think tanks. The Brookings Institute. And, we might show you guys some more. Like I said, we do a lot. We're going to report things, expose injustices, so on and so forth. So here we are with the Brookings Institute. Let's look at their description. Let me make sure it's pulled up for y'all. I got it on the site. Hold on, get out of there. I want y'all to see it as well as me talking about it. All right, there we go. It should be pulled up, ladies and gents. No, not yet. Hold on, pull that up there. There we go. All right. So the Brookings Institution is a nonprofit public policy organization based in, there's another one in Washington, D.C., along with the Joint Center. Now, the Black Youth Project didn't mention, at least I don't remember reading them saying where they was based out of, but here's another one that's D.C. related, based in D.C., is the Brookings Institution, a nonprofit public policy organization based in Washington, D.C. Their mission is to conduct high-quality, independent research and, based on that research, to provide innovative, practical recommendations that advance three broad goals. One is to strengthen American democracy, foster the economic and social welfare, security and opportunity of all Americans. See what I'm saying? And secure a more open, safe, prosperous, and cooperative international system. Now, this is the things that I was talking about. You get these black think tanks, and they're not really all the way for black people. And I'm looking at a video already that has black men mentioned in the, at least the thumbnail image. And we'll go to their website here in a sec. But this is what I'm talking about. You have so many so-called black think tanks, and they don't really look out for black people. They want to be all lives matter, all lives matter in it, right? When I exclusively said, and I think the more I keep noticing this, the more I'm going to do another live and try to make it a little bit shorter. This is just our intro video, so you guys can get to know us, and you can kind of dig into this particular video and scroll around the different parts. But so y'all know what we're about and how we do things a little bit. But the more I keep noticing these supposedly black think tanks, the more I'm starting to see that they're for everybody else. And it doesn't mean we hate because we say we're for foundational Black Americans. Doesn't mean we hate white people, not black people, but white people. We don't hate Jamaicans. We don't hate Haitians. We don't hate Puerto Ricans. But we'll show you some things, as time goes on, you'll see a lot. You'll learn a lot. You'll get a lot of solutions for sure on different various topics. Like I said, we look at social things going on as well. We try to come up with solutions for that. But whenever there's any problems with foundational Black Americans, we definitely study those and we try to come up with some solutions. But it seems like a lot of these so-called black think tanks are always all lives matter in it. And I think we're just going to kind of, do some breakdowns of a lot of things here. All right. Let's see what videos they have. Policy made crisis. Okay. This is one I was looking at where it says, what does well-being mean for Black men and boys in the U.S.? So they have videos for somebody black men in this, and I'm sure they have something for Black women somewhere in here as well. But they're all about all Americans. And I see they mentioned in China's fourth way. And we'll talk about things like China and stuff. You'll get to learn what we're about and what we'll expose and show and all types of problems and how they affect or could affect Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. Because there's things in China going on between China and the U.S. that can affect, I'm trying to go a little fast, foundational Black Americans. And we'll tackle that and look at that and see if there's any issues. In the near future, we're also going to talk about, and y'all can look this up, so maybe before we go live on this, you'll have a little information on it. But we're also going to talk about Section 230. So y'all just look that up. I'm not going to tell you any more further. Just look up Section 230, okay? So you'll definitely, because we're going to do something on that pretty soon as well. So keep that in mind. Section 230. The number is 230. The word section 230. All right. So we're just looking down here real quick and they have explainer videos. Let me see what they got. The flaw in California's climate framework. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. We might, we also might tackle or look at things, or at least study and monitor things about the climate and stuff, because that affects everybody as a whole. But again, like I said, we like to focus on issues that affect foundational Black Americans, but we also look at social issues. Like I said, homeless. We're going to try to come up with solutions. And actually, we already have an article about that. I wish I can give you out a link, because normally we can put a QR code on our live stream, and all you got to do in real time is scan it and click the website, and it'll take you right there. Or actually put the actual article site link, and y'all can scan it right in real time as I'm talking. But we'll do that the next time. So we actually have some solutions about finding creative housings for the homeless. I think y'all definitely will love that. So the next time we come out, we're going to put a QR code on the screen, and you guys will be able to just scan it in real time as I'm talking, and you'll be able to pull that stuff up. Okay, so it looks like, I don't know why that's happening. Maybe y'all don't see my face. Unfortunately, when we go live, a lot of crazy stuff happens. So let me see something real quick. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe y'all don't see my face. Okay, so my face, I think my face is on the screen and it's just frozen. But in the studio, the back studio, my face is not even on the screen. So I thought that's what y'all might be seeing, but y'all just seeing my face frozen on the screen. So let me try something else here real quick and see what happens. We'll just do it like this for the rest of the time. Yeah, bear with me for a second. I'm just trying to see if something happens here. There you go. All right, so we'll just do it like that. All right, where were we? We're going to take a look at some things. I'll tell you what, we're going to skip looking at some videos. I'm just kind of looking through what type of videos they have. Like I said, we look at everything. We'll look at other think tanks, YouTube channels, websites, as well as solving problems too. You know what I mean? So let's go to their website real quick. We'll do that, and we'll just kind of close it out. So here's their website, and let's pull that on the screen so the people can see it. And there it is. And like we love to do is go to they mentioned it over. You see already, they're talking about Zohan. They got his picture on here. Mamdani, 2025 election wrap-up insights. So if y'all guys if y'all interested in checking this out, I'm not going to click on it. We're just going to go to their about section, and then we're going to get out of here. But if you go to brookings.edu and you're interested in seeing what they're talking about, the new elected mayor, y'all can read about that. We're going to read about it, or I'm going to read about it as soon as I end this live, and take a look at that. So let's go to the about section. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got here. There we go. So hold on. There we go. The Brookings Institution is a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. Our mission is to conduct in-depth, nonpartisan research to improve policy and governance. So this is what their mission is. All right. At the local level, the national level, and global levels. And we also look at things from the perspective of looking at things locally, nationally, and globally. All right. But we're just not doing this thing that they're talking about here. But that's how, like I said, we look at everything. We look at a lot of stuff. You'll be surprised what we take a look at. But again, at the core of our mission, this is the Brookings Institute. At the core of our mission is the quality, independence, and impact of our research. We are dedicated to finding bold, pragmatic solutions for societal challenges through open-minded inquiry, diverse perspectives, and holding ourselves to the highest standards of scholastic rigor. Because of this, Brookings has been at the forefront of public policy for more than a century, than 100 years, huh? Wow. Let's see if we can see anything else here. See, their thing is a little bit different from their YouTube description. The YouTube description really reveals that they're not just about Black people exclusively. And I don't understand why. There should be more think tanks that just be exclusively for Black Americans, because other ethnic groups have think tanks for them. That's what I don't understand. But you'll make it like it's offensive for Black Americans to, I'll repeat this again, everybody seems to be offended. Not everybody, literally, but quite a bit of people seem to take offense when Black Americans want to be for themselves, because everybody's coming to the conclusion and realizing that foundational Black Americans have been looking out for other people for centuries. Just like the Brookings Institute said they've been around for centuries. Foundational Black Americans been looking out for other people's political issues, their plights in other countries. We'll talk, stuff was going on during apartheid. Black Americans was from America standing up for people in Africa regarding apartheid. There were Black Americans here, I think in the 1930s, who, if I'm not mistaken, who decided that they was going to help Ethiopia fight in a war. A lot of people don't know that. So Black Americans been looking out for a lot of people, different ethnic groups, Spanish, Hispanic, Africans, Caribbeans, and we're finding out that they're not reciprocating that back. And we have the videos to prove it. That's what's so cool about having, a think tank. We research and gather all this intelligence, and we can show you where that's going on. And people can't deny it. The only thing they can do is be quiet. That's it. Or argue and try to fight and try to deny otherwise. So that's it, man. We are in, that's the Brookings. Well, let me go back because I definitely want to take a look at that article once we get done. And yeah, so that's just a few of the black think tanks that are out there. Maybe we'll go over some more think tanks, some black think tanks, and then we'll go over some other think tanks as well. Okay. And so we're going to close out. And I'm going to close out by saying this. I encourage the young Black Americans, the young foundational Black Americans, to consider starting their own think tank. I encourage other adult Black Americans to consider starting their own think tank. You can start up a one-person think tank. Like I said, you can just be you and AI and using these other sources. You can have AI do all your research. But you can also talk to your family members. They can be part of your team. They can be part of your unofficial think tank team. You can have doctors that can be part of your unofficial. They don't have to know that they're part of your think tank. You just asking them questions and you're getting intel. You're getting information. So you actually can have a broad network of people. They don't even know that they're part of it. Just like you see in the movies, you have these spy movies where people don't know, one person from the next don't know they're part of this group or that group. They just sent out to do a mission and don't even know other team members that's on the same team. So you can look at it from that perspective. You can start your own think tank with yourself. You don't have to be a registered think tank. All right. Maybe we'll do something on that. Maybe we'll do a mini course or something so you can just know how to get started and know the resources you have, because that's also a solution. That's providing a solution by creating a course for those who might be thinking about something like that or might feel they could be interested in that, because we do give ideas, strategies, solutions, options to solve problems. All right. That's what a think tank does. So let me write that down as well. Let me write that down. It's something we'll take a look at. So it doesn't get forgotten. Now that's two things on the list, maybe three. Let me put something else down that I just thought about. So you definitely can be a one-person think tank, and then for the youth who are thinking about doing that, and you can focus on whatever issues you want, whether you're a youth or adult. I'm talking to the youth right now, the foundational Black American youth. You can create a think tank, and you can be in elementary school. So they call it middle school now. Back in the days, we call it junior high school, or high school or college, wherever you might be at. And you can focus on issues regarding what's going on in your school system or what's going on in school. You don't have to. You can focus on any issues you want and find out what the problems are and come up with solutions by yourself or with a few of your friends. And like I said, you can have unofficial people not even realizing they're helping with part of your think tank, because all you do is gather intelligence or gather information, and you might gather their perspective on things, and it helps you come up with some solutions. Like I said, you might decide to talk to a doctor one day, just interview a doctor and just get information about a specific issue. It could be a specific health issue related to the youth, and gather intel, and then you come up with your own solutions. You can go back and forth with AI, with ChatGPT, with DeepSeek, with Perplexity, and go back and forth. So there's so many things I can say, and I don't want to stay on here too long, because I'll be on here maybe 2 or 3 more hours just breaking stuff down about that, when we can put a course together and show you all the possibilities, or a video on each subject regarding the think tank, and just kind of break it down that way as well. So different ways we can go by it. But those are just some examples of what you can do as a one-person think tank, or if you want to have you and your friends, you might have some friends that have the same interest. Same people, same thing with the adults, okay? But the main thing I say, I'm encouraging other Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, to maybe think about starting your own think tank, because it doesn't seem like there's a Black think tank that exclusively focuses on issues regarding foundational Black Americans, whether it's through the law, issues dealing with the law, dealing with finances, social issues, racial issues. There doesn't seem to be that we've looked at, or I looked at, that specifically focuses on just that group. But I found loads of other think tanks that deal with their group, their ethnic group. So I say I encourage y'all to do that. The tools are out there. Technology is crazy and it's available. It'll help you be a very beautiful, prosperous think tank. And incidentally, also, by saying this before we get out of here on closing, is these other think tanks are, like I said, you see a lot of them say they're 501c3 or 3C, whatever that is, however it was put. And a lot of times they can be controlled. And you see some that are for corporations or funded by corporations. So I also suggest when you do your think tank, try not to get hemmed up like that, because then some things you might want to do and you might need funding for it, and you hooking up with corporations where they can control you, or you might link with a government or whatever, and then you won't get things done that way. So try to be as independent as possible. And like I say, you don't need to register to be one. You can create think tanks at random, all right? And still you can come up with your own solutions on how you can fund your think tank without being funded by corporations and governments and stuff like that. So I just pass that on to you. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. This should be a thorough. Now, if people have questions, they say, what y'all about and this and that, I will refer them to this video. And they can go through it however they decide. That way we don't waste too much time. So appreciate y'all. This is 365 Ideas, turning ideas into actions, turning ideas and strategies to solve problems, challenges, struggles. All right. And we will see you on the next one. We will give you like we're going to go over 3 solutions for foundational Black Americans on our next live. All right. So looking forward to that. And we will see y'all later. I appreciate y'all. Those who watch, pass this on, let them know that there is a Black American think tank out there outside of Dr. Claud Anderson's Harvard Institute. He's up there in age, so I don't know. He's actually running it, and I'm sure he's probably running it to some degree, but probably not like he used to when he was a lot younger. So outside of the Harvard Institute by Dr. Claud Anderson, that's the only truly all foundational Black American think tank that I know of. That's all exclusively for foundational Black Americans, is the Harvard Institute by Dr. Claud Anderson. And so we're going to follow in his footsteps as well. And we are called 365 Ideas. All right. So with that being said, we are out. Appreciate y'all. Peace and love. And we'll see you again on the next one. Peace.